Hello, this is my summary of Chapter 13 of To Kill a Mockingbird, and I want to make sure that your volume is up so you can listen to me not just read this summary, but to actually teach and give details that are important for this part of this novel. So Chapter 13 starts right where Chapter 12 it leaves off, and Jem, Scout, and Calpurnia come back from church and they notice Aunt Alexandra outside their home. That's how Chapter 12 ends. Chapter 13 is where we find out why she's there. And Aunt Alexandra announces that at Atticus's request, she's coming to live with them for a while, which is out of her character. She has not been a very involved aunt thus far. So it definitely worries Jem and Scout, mostly Scout, because Scout and Aunt Alexandra do not have the greatest relationship. Aunt Alexandra is very traditional. She goes to great pains to educate the children in the importance of the Finch breeding, which is obviously their last name. And she goes on and on about expectations, about how they are superior than other families, especially because they are Caucasian. And it kind of rallies something in Atticus that is out of his character, but he actually jumps on this Finch pride, and he even gives a very uncharacteristic speech about how, yes, they are the Finches and they have pride. And it kind of confuses Scout to hear her dad speak in this way. And it kind of dawns on Atticus that he is being hypocritical, and he actually recants and denies basically that everything he said doesn't hold weight in the sense of pride, which is a very important part of the novel because it shows Scout and Jem how unhealthy it can be when we see ourselves as greater than and superior than others just based on our last name alone. In chapter 14, we're going to move on to chapter 14, and this part, Scout begins to talk to Aunt Alexandra about going to Calpurnia's church, her African American church, and Aunt Alexandra is mortified. She freaks out, and she begins to tell Scout how she can no longer go to Calpurnia's church. And with that, she sends Scout out of the room. And she even comments that they really don't need a housekeeper anymore because she's there, and Alexandra feels that she's there pulling the weight of cleaning. So she begins to recommend to Atticus to get rid of Calpurnia, which, as we all know, is the second mom to Jem and Scout. She's part of the family. She's not just a servant. She's not a cook. She's not a servant, you know. So this is a turning point. Atticus denies Alexandra's request, which is, you know, it calms you as a reader when you read this part because you're worried. You don't want to see Calpurnia out of the Finch family because she does bring balance. So Jem and Scout retreat to their rooms into their room when Atticus and Aunt Alexandra are in that conversation talking about Calpurnia, and they end up getting into a huge fight. And they begin to fist fight with each other, so they're sent to bed early. And this is kind of a funny part of the book where Jem and Scout, it's dark, they are trying to get themselves to sleep, and all of a sudden they feel or sense something kind of moving on their floor, and it freaks Scout out. She thinks it's a snake, and Jem and Scout are in this moment of panic, and Jem discovers that the snake is actually really Dill, and he has this fantastic, detailed runaway story of how he got to make home. And of course we know we can be kind of skeptical if this is even true because Dill is kind of he likes to give white lies. He loves to exaggerate. And then Jem does tell Atticus that Dill is there, which if you read it, you'll notice that Scout feels kind of betrayed that he would tell an adult that information, but Atticus at the end of the day was fine with Dill spending the night and hanging out with Atticus or hanging out with Jem and Scout. So it all worked out in the end. And please read chapters 13 and 14 and make sure you update your summary notes. Thank you so much.